Oh, we started.
Oh, yeah, I started.
No, we can start, guys. Let's do it. Let's start it. Yeah, this is the real Jake behind the scenes. They don't know how I sound when we're not started. And so
Jake,
I'm so glad we haven't started
you
yet.
just revealed your true voice to the audience.
Oh no.
Jake, you're true. Jake, now the audience has power over you. They know your true voice.
Hey, I'm a switch, baby. Maybe I wanted that. Just for a little bit.
Anyway. Not digging into that.
You dug into it before, you bitch.
Perhaps our funniest intro yet.
Okay, you know what? No, fuck you. You say something right now. You say an intro funny thing.
Matt, be funny.
Do it. Be funny.
Hello and welcome back. We're the Tough Cut Podcast.
That's pretty funny.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex.
And you just learned that I'm a switch. I'm Jake.
And this is episode 52, part 3 of our remakes bracket.
I want to be clear. I'm just adding to all the fanfic out there. I'm just fueling their, we have to plant these seeds.
That's true.
Because how do things get popular? Fanfic.
Fan fiction. Mm-hmm.
That's true. Hey, make fanfic of us.
Yeah, if you search on Archive of
Call
Our
to
Own,
action.
you can't find a single Tough Cut fanfic yet.
We have people who have made fanfics about us.
We can't even get our audience to like a tweet 10 times. There is no chance we get fanfic.
I don't know. Maybe our like audience. We just need to know what our audience likes, right? So maybe our audiences aren't big like social media people, but maybe they're dirty little readers.
Ooh, some little nasty readers.
Yeah, they're out there reading Dark Harry Styles fanfic on Wattpad.
I actually know a lot of those.
Same.
Should we call our audience the Nasties? Are they the Nasties now? Is that what we're calling our audience?
No.
What's up, Nasties? We're the Tough Cut.
Hey, what's up, you dirty little babies?
I kind of want to call them dirty little listeners.
Dirty little listeners. Hey there, dirty listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the Tough Cut Podcast. Coming at you in today's episode, we've got Star Trek Into Darkness versus Suspiria 1977 and Infernal Affairs versus How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So it should be pretty fun.
Yeah, it'll be a good one, especially if you're a little nasty listener.
Yeah, it'll be a good, listeners. Clean time. Or will it?
Wink.
Oh, no.
Wink.
Oh, no. I spilled Coca-Cola on my mic. I'm gonna be sticky.
Ooh, I'm unhappy with this.
This is why I can't do a phone sex line. That was awful. That was exactly.
This is why the Tough Cut got into podcasting, not phone sex.
Well, we tried at first. I want full disclosure. The Tough Cut boys tried phone sex first, a group phone sex thing, where we were like, it was kind of like a podcast.
It was phone orgies.
Hey, what are we gonna do with these movies today, Jake?
We're gonna compare them. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're gonna be spoiling these movies, guys. We're a huge spoiler, podcast. I mean, we don't go into we like big twists and turns, so we don't ruin all those things.
Yeah, we do. Heyo, and so do our nasty listeners. Yeah. So do the nasties.
I can't breathe. I can't do it. No, but yeah, we'll be spoiling these. Also, a little content warning for Suspiria. There's a pretty graphic gory stuff in there.
My wife just texted me. She's in the other room. She just texted me, ew.
This is why your wife doesn't listen to the podcast.
My wife just texted me, oh, wow. I want a divorce.
Oh, well, I'll be there at the proceedings, Jake.
Matt, what did your wife text you?
Something funny, because it's a callback, baby. I don't have a wife.
Not anymore.
Infernal Affairs, just a general content warning for, some, I guess, intense violence, and also photosensitivity in Into Darkness and
Suspiria. I'd say they have like a little strobe section.
Yeah. Shall we hop into this?
Let's do it.
Alex, do you want to go ahead and
let's dive right into the proverbial garbage can of nastiness?
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and introduce Star Trek Into Darkness?
Yeah, I said that and then realized the Grinch is not in this first matchup. Star Trek Into Darkness, directed by J.J. Abrams, released in 2013. This is the rebooted Star Trek franchise, which is also kind of like a weird time travel thing. So it's a reboot, but not really a reboot. And James T. Kirk loses command of the ship and Spock takes over. And then Khan is there. What? And there's like a whole political thing. And
who plays Khan? Say it. Say it. Who plays Khan? Say it.
Khan is played by.
Yeah. Say it.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you. And it's kind of funny because they're like, Khan is this big smart guy, and then the entire movie, all he really does is like fight things real good. It's a wild, fun ride. It's a fun time. It is a fun movie, and no one can argue with that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it.
Up against Suspiria 1977. Jake, what's up with that?
Hello, yes. Hello, yes, it's me. Suspiria 1977 by Dario Argento. It's about this girl who just wants to dance. All she wants to do is dance, but she can't dance because she goes to the school in Germany that's famous for ballet, but really it's famous for its dark secrets because there are witches about and deaths happening, and she has to fight for her survival as witches want her dead, but also want her to dance. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a surrealist horror movie, very much of its one of a kind nature. It's not about the story; it's about the ride, and it's a fun little time.
What an interesting matchup this is. Maybe we were just like in a vibing mood that day where we did not pick the like good narrative movies. We picked the like fun to watch, like ride vibe movies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is pretty cool. Just a quick interjection before we hop into these. I don't know how many people out there are familiar with Benedict Cumberbatch's full name, but it is Benedict Timothy Carlton Cumberbatch. His father's name is Timothy Carlton. So he's just got his dad's name in the middle of his name.
It's crazy because you didn't even read his full name. So I actually was going to bring this up as well because his full name is actually Benedict Carlton, dirty little listener, Cumberbatch. And I think that's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
What? How'd that happen?
Yeah.
How did his mother's maiden name make it into his name?
Anyway. To actually talk about and jump into comparing these movies.
No, we're
not going to do that, Jake.
I said, yeah. Well, I just wanted to kind of also I think actually it's really kind of cool what Alex was saying. And I also realized this, this is such a hard matchup for me because both of these I love because I just had a fun ass time with them, not necessarily that they have great conventions about them. One may be more exciting for and palatable, but one did a lot more for a genre, and that's always important to me, especially if it's spooky times. And I just don't know what to pick because it's so great having two movies where my biggest argument is, no, dude, they're both fun. There's no the mise en scene or no, but this character's motivation. No, it's nah, I just had a fun little time with both these movies.
Well, so I will say though, Star Trek Into Darkness does have some good character work in Kirk and Spock. They're not bad. It has a narrative. It has some pretty good characters. Its characters have stuff to do. So, I think it's a little unfair to be these are movies that are just fun.
And
you know,
on the counter side, I do think that like from a technical standpoint, there is a lot good stuff going on in both, but there is a lot of really impressive stuff from color and cinematography happening in Suspiria. That is selling it a little bit short, saying it's simply a fun movie when it's I think an extraordinarily beautiful movie.
I'm sorry, you fools. When I say fun, you know what, I mean because I'm a complex artist, and when I say something's fun, that means like there's something really like beautiful and technically brilliant about these two films.
Are you going to be a filmmaker? Are you working in film? Are you a film respecter?
I'm not really working in film so much as film works through me.
It's really cute.
Wow. Do you guys know what my nasty little brain and what I think our nasty little listeners would have loved in Suspiria in 1977?
Just keep saying it until it sticks, aren't we?
Yeah. The tough cut in the Nasties.
We should start a band.
Absolute favorite scene. We should. That'd be pretty funny. My favorite scene in Suspiria was the scene where she's in the bathroom and she gets attacked by the bat. And the bat just starts like flying around, and then it's on the floor and it's just like scooching along the floor.
It's a good moment.
Very fun, very funny.
Yeah, as we
Technical
said,
masterpiece.
Fun movie, you know. Had to coordinate that bat.
Yeah, and then she smashes it with a chair or something.
Something like that.
Pretty good.
Okay. Comparing that scene. Sorry, this isn't going to help Into Darkness. My bad. Ahead of time. But compare that bat scene with Vampire's Kiss bat scene. Who winning?
Who winning? Bringing in Vampire's Kiss, a movie that was on the show
Dark Horse.
a year ago.
Dark Horse.
Vampires. That's a good bat scene.
I think this one's really good. I gotta say, it's so funny.
So like, obviously, Nicolas Cage is better. Floor. Yeah. But as bats acting in Hollywood, I think the bat that acted
Suspiria bat gets more to do, whereas Vampire's Kiss bat is mostly just kind of flying about, you know? Does land on him.
Vampire's Kiss is about the Vampire's Kiss bat scene is about Nicolas Cage.
Mm-hmm.
The Suspiria bat scene is about the bat.
But was it a product of Nicolas Cage overshadowing that? You know, because remember that bat in Vampire's Kiss was a new actor. That was a new face they found.
Oh my God.
So like, obviously they're going to be overshadowed.
It's Hollywood debut.
Yeah, so like, and Nicolas Cage was unafraid,
guys.
So
actually,
maybe he just.
I don't know if you know this. That bat, the bat in Vampire's Kiss, was voiced by Benedict Timothy Carlton Cumberbatch.
Nasty little Lister Cumberbatch.
That's crazy. I think it's
you were wondering why that bat was so nasty. It's because of him.
We'll have to
the spin he put on it.
Wait for the day that we do a bat bracket where it's just bats in movies.
Shit, dude. Ooh. I would do a bat bracket. I'll tell you that much.
That's a fun idea. I'm putting it in our doc.
Wonderful. A point of comparison that I wanted to bring up is that both of these movies are fairly visually appealing in very different ways. Star Trek Into Darkness, minus some of the most intense of the lens flares, I think generally has like pretty nicely made sets, great CGI. On the other hand, Suspiria is much more focused on like use of color and lighting. How do we feel about those differences? How do we feel about the visual appeal of these movies?
For people who are going to fact check me for these brackets and the things I say, one, you're wasting your time. I contradict myself all the time on the podcast. So stop it. Two, I do want to give a little credit to Into Darkness for their color, because when I compared it to Wrath of Khan felt so drab to me, but Into Darkness, I immediately was like, they got fun colors. I like it. Especially that opening sequence with all the reds and all the stuff. Like, it is a brighter film. It's just, if you're going to compare Into Darkness to Suspiria, you're losing when it comes to color. Like, the way like Dario Argento uses color in Suspiria is like
his big thing.
It's a big thing. So that's not to discredit Into Darkness, but I do think from that standpoint, like, Suspiria is just so much more fun to look at, and much more like, oh, you could tell this is well, maybe I hesitate to say you could tell this is like super purposeful as compared to Into Darkness, where I think the purpose is just different. Like Suspiria's functions as an aspect of like story and theme and heightening our senses. Atmosphere, where Into Darkness is like, what's going to make a lot of people buy this ticket and watch this movie?
It's a visual spectacle, like a true spectacle. You know, it's meant to be flashy and big and kind of over the top. Compared to Suspiria's is much more focused on like explicitly atmosphere and like tone, I think. Yeah, so I think that's a good point.
I wonder though if I think that it actually helps the movie. Like, it gives the movie more character, but it almost feels to me like when I was watching it that like I would rather have seen it in like the frames of a like graphic novel or comic book. Like because like with that kind of color, I feel like I want to focus on it that way in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, because I don't know that is the best medium to use that, if that makes sense. Not that movies can't use color in interesting ways, but I don't know. That's kind of where I'm coming at it from.
It's hard, Alex, because like I know you didn't really enjoy like Suspiria, like Tutu. Like I know the good things about it, but it's interesting that we have a blockbuster film versus like this small like cult horror classic. Because I totally understand if people don't like Suspiria. Like I totally like it is genuinely not everyone's cup of tea. Whereas Into Darkness is trying to be everyone's cup of tea. Whether or not it succeeded or not is up to whatever the people. It did make a fair amount of money. But now with how much money everything else makes in blockbuster Hollywood, it seems like a small amount. It's just interesting that like you're like what you were describing me about the color and all of a sudden with Suspiria, I do think it enhances it, but that just may be because I like that kind of film, and it's just gonna be a polarizing thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it ties in a little bit to a comment that I made when we first talked about Suspiria, that it's the type of movie, if you watch the first 15 minutes and don't enjoy it, you're not gonna like the rest of it. Like it's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna, like, it elevates that formula, but it doesn't necessarily innovate on what it kind of lays out atmosphere wise pretty early on. And like, I get where you're coming from, but I also, at least personally, think it's really effective because it's just like it's not something I've seen a lot in movies to play with color and lighting like so powerfully. The movie that it reminds me of, or I think tries something similar, is Mandy. Speaking of Nick Cage. Mandy plays very intensely with color and lighting. In both of these movies, I think like that is a very core tenet of watching it, is the atmosphere they invoke through the color and lighting and not the story and writing.
Yeah.
And it would make a pretty sick comic because you could just have,
It would like, be. I'm trying to think of
that's where I'm coming from.
Of
like I feel like it could be so cool because it also, the other issue I have with it is it plays so much with color and lighting, but then you have some scenes that are just so dark that I want to sit in them and like watch them. Like I want to really like look at it. And I feel like you can't do that as much with a movie that's constantly moving. I don't know. It's tough.
And really like pick out the elements, like how the scene is set, you know, little details, things like that. That's fair. I do think there's something to that.
Yeah, I agree. Look at us agreeing. We're supposed to disagree. This is the tough cut, guys.
Look at
Come
us.
On. Yeah.
Come on. How are we supposed to get nasty if we don't disagree?
No, Jake, we're being nasty by not doing what we're supposed to do. We're nasty boys.
Okay.
We're going against the rules now by being agreeful and polite. We're nasty for being polite.
So
polite and nasty.
A moment in Into Darkness I want to call out or talk about a little more.
Please.
Yeah.
Spock calls up old Spock, who is time traveling Spock.
Duh. Don't worry about all that.
And he's like, oh yeah, we
don't think too much.
We know a con and it cost us extremely. I don't know, man. There's just like, I get the purpose, but it's like it's like they get that information and then proceed to not really do anything with it because they were already
they just wanted a Leonard Nimoy cameo.
Well, they're
That's
already
all they
like
wanted.
Suspicious of Khan at that point. And then they can't
he
tell
does it
him
when they're on the mission
because he can't radio him.
Yeah,
but it's just such an interesting inclusion to me. It's very much like a moment to be like, hey, you know Leonard Nimoy, and you remember Wrath of Khan.
Yeah,
I do.
Which
it's weirdly placed in the movie.
I think that's my piece on it. It's not like a bad illusion to have, but it's just like, I don't know why it's there in particular because it doesn't inform the characters in a meaningful way.
It should have been before the scene where Kirk takes Khan, because then Spock is like, I know not to trust him. We should not trust him.
And then Kirk's anyway, like, we have no choice.
The only way.
And then it creates this tension versus, and then they make out with tongue because they're nasty.
Right.
And Khan is there watching.
Old Khan or?
Both Khans.
Both Khan.
Both. Khan, old Khan, Ricardo Montalban, he shows up. He's nasty. His nipples are out.
Yeah, because like they're clearly like already suspicious of Khan. And Kirk just like has to independently like there's the moment where they're fighting their way through the ship and Khan like slips away to kill some guys and Scotty and Kirk are like, I don't know if we should trust him. And it's like, okay.
Right.
Like,
okay. Yeah. Here's the thing. You're asking too much about the story. It sucks because like you're absolutely right. And I know that it was just to get Leonard Nimoy in and just for fans to go,
Well, okay. I think the issue though is not
this. It's not the
necessarily
scene itself.
The timing.
Okay, where's this going?
It's the problem of Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan, because the movie frames Khan as like, oh, he's so smart, he's so intelligent, he's gonna like, but he's like this super powerful, super smart, and then he like doesn't do any good betrayals. Like there is no surprise in it because Kirk like right away is like, don't trust him. We gotta like knock him out, and then they knock him out. Like they betray him. He doesn't even betray them first. Like
slander.
And it's not like he uses his big
is
brain.
The problem in this movie.
It's not like he uses his big brain to get out of the situation. He just has super healing powers.
He squishes other people's
and then
brains.
He shoots them. Like
I think I wholeheartedly agree with that point, Alex, that like it's so funny that they spend so much time being like Khan's just like an advanced life form genius and he just like fights people and just punches shit. And it's just so it's so much fun to watch. But yeah, no, absolutely. I'm the Jake train of you're thinking too hard about the story. Just like be along for the ride.
Yeah. Yeah, because here's the thing. I know Benedict Cumberbatch is written poorly in this movie, but also he owns that shit. He owns it. He goes around just doing his little snarl. I love it, man.
With his floppy haircut.
Yeah, with his little floppy bangs that look atrocious.
It's so funny.
So funny.
But at the same time, we have shit in fucking Suspiria where they're just running around. Like the line where they meet the butler dude who can't talk. And he's like, he really is ugly, isn't he? Don't be afraid to say so. And it's like, why would you say that? Why would you say that shit?
There's also...
Or when
go ahead, Alex.
The like rival dancer is talking to her and her friend, and she's like, names of snakes. Like, why everyone in this school so weird? What's up with that?
I think
you remember when the blind dude got bodied?
Yeah, killed by a dog.
That was fucked up.
His own dog.
Yeah.
The witches made that guy's dog eat him.
And crazy. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's a better betrayal than anything Khan did in Star Trek Into Darkness.
Because they endear you to the relationship between the blind man and his dog. You see him a couple of times walking around, and then the tension builds and the dog kills him, you know?
They also just get both parties really react way more hardcore than they probably should have. It's like, hey, your dog bit this thing, and then there's like, you need to leave forever.
Get fired.
And then he's like, I'll fucking kill you. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna leave. And then she throws his cane. Like, what's the point of that?
I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
Something in Suspiria, because at this, I'm just like bringing up things I think are weird. Something in Suspiria that I do not fully understand the purpose of. The male dancer who is kind of courting Susie. I don't get it.
You don't think he's hot? You don't think he's hot enough?
Is he a dancer or does he work there? Because to me, it was all the men seemed like they were servants.
I think that's what for the witch and shit they are, but they're trying to pass off as there's a male section of the dance
because
studio.
That's what it felt like to me, is like that's why they had it sectioned where they're sleeping, because they have all the female dancers in one spot, what I assumed were male dancers, and then they have the is that literally Mother Suspiria just sleeping there?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. She also has to get evacuated because of the what were they, maggots?
Yeah, maggots.
She can't sleep in her bed.
She had to get evacuated from her secret room deep in a tunnel underneath the school. And she also has a bug problem.
The best they could do to hide her identity is to put up a fucking sheet.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, have you ever tried to find someone under a sheet? It's hard.
Mm-hmm. You pull one side and then the other billows and moves the sheet. Yeah. It's just very tough.
Billows is a really good word,
thank
Matthew.
You.
That was just a really good diction. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. It's I don't know, man. It's just, especially for how
both
easily
these movies have problems.
One more little piece. For how easy it is to kill Mother Suspiria. For her to just be out there, someone could smother her with a pillow, I'm pretty sure. Khan would tear her throat out.
You know what would have been actually really cool in that scene? If they'd heard Mother Suspiria breathing horribly deeply, you see her shadow, and they open the curtain and she's invisible. That would have been cool. That would have been
you know, it would be even better if she's sleeping there and they go, and then they open the curtain and she just has a sleep apnea machine attached to her.
Oh, what a gentle old witch she is.
Yeah. I wouldn't care. I would immediately have sympathy, even if she looked ugly and witch-like, because she got sleep apnea. That's hard.
It is tough. And we're just grumping on her for no reason.
It's tough being an old, ugly witch. Sleep apnea. Should we vote? I think I'm ready to vote.
I think we should.
It's tough because I still, we shit on all these, but I still love both of these movies.
No, they're legitimately very fun and generally well-made films,
Yeah. I'll start us off. For as much as I shit on Star Trek Into Darkness, with its problems with Khan, I don't like Suspiria. So I am voting for Star Trek Into Darkness.
I can go next. I think I'm going to vote for Suspiria 1977. I think that, at least personally, it's just the film. I think it is the better of the two. And, I want to keep digging in.
Oh, this is really difficult for me.
Suspiria, is that you?
You and your sleep apnea.
Which? Look, this isn't a vote. This is my thought process that I would love to share with the audience. Not that anyone else here wouldn't love to share their thought process.
Yeah. We would love to, but unfortunately, we already spoke.
Unfortunately, they were they knew what they were voting for and they just went for it. Look, I like Suspiria more and I genuinely think it's a better movie. However, I do know that Benedict Cumberbatch is in the other film.
Dead stop. Benedict Cumberbatch is in the movie.
it's tricky, but I also like I fully understand if people don't like Suspiria, and so I'm torn because like, do I vote for something that I genuinely and it's hard because this is the remake reboot and what's the better source material to go off of, I guess, or what's that like? I don't know going forward how we kind of determine now. Is it just what's the better movie?
That is a good point. Because I believe Suspiria, is it based on a novel?
It's based on some mythos surrounding, like, not Cthulhu mythos, but something like similar.
Suspiria de Profundis is a collection of essays, prose poems by English writer Thomas de Quincey. An examination of the process of memory is influenced by hallucinogenic drug use.
Yeah. Which, I mean, this thing feels like a drug fever dream, so... Look, okay, here's what I'm voting for. And this isn't to set a huge precedent, but because again, I literally have already told the audience I contradict myself. But Into Darkness is a remake, and I think it was so fun. Suspiria is a great source material, but I genuinely think it's so one of its kind. For this bracket, I'm gonna vote for Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, for Into Darkness. Star Trek Into Darkness.
With that.
But I genuinely, like, please, if you like horror and if you can stand that thing, like, just try Suspiria. It's a very great
if you don't
film.
like it in the first 15 minutes, turn it off, because then you won't like the movie. But if you do, go for it.
I stand by that. I think that's actually a really good barometer with this movie. Yeah.
100%.
With that, Star Trek Into Darkness advances to our remake bracket finale. But
hilarious.
What shall it be going up against? I'll go ahead and introduce Infernal Affairs. Infernal Affairs, released in 2002, directed by Andrew Lau and Alan Mack, follows the story of Chan Wen-yan, a young police officer who's been sent undercover as a mole into the local mafia, and Lau Kin-ming, a mafia member who infiltrates the police force. And it is their cat and mouse game as they try to reveal each other after many years climbing the ranks in their respective organizations to expose who the mole is in each of their organizations, coming to a glorious head when all identities and cards have been put out on the table. And on the other side of this, we've got How the Grinch Stole Christmas, if one of you guys want to take that one.
Yeah. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, directed by Ron Howard, released in 2000. The grungy green man is nasty and nastier than ever until he's not at the end of the movie when he has a heart attack.
Thanks.
That's the Grinch. I mean, there's not much to really say about the plot. I feel like, one, most people know the plot of the Grinch, and two, he hates Christmas, then he saves Christmas. That's the thing, right? Like, that's what the Grinch does.
Yeah.
And he gets nasty while he does it.
So to just kick things off, and then we can dive into to really comparing them. Something I find so fascinating about the Grinch.
Good sentence. That was natural.
Yeah. So something I think is really fascinating is they make the Grinch being extraordinarily strong and buff a weirdly important plot point.
That's canon.
They
That's
go
super
back,
canon.
You know, this film, they go back to his childhood and like recount the stories of him growing up. And it's, you know, you have like, what's her name? The romantic interest, Martha, I think.
Maybe.
Who's just like those muscles. And then you just have him flexing his incredible strength to save the sleigh at the, like, it's the pivotal thing that has him save the day. Like, it's such a weird choice to me. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? He's a cryptid. He's a cryptid. That's why he's a cryptid.
He's not a cryptid, though. He's a who. This movie makes him just a weird green who. That's really strong for some reason.
I mean, I genuinely think that, like, okay, take Bigfoot, for example.
Yeah.
Do we believe Bigfoot is human? You know, or has
Bigfoot is a Bigfoot.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, I think the Grinch.
Bigfoot
I don't
doesn't
think
look
the Grinch
like
is a who
human.
They do say he's a who.
I think the Grinch is a
what,
who.
You know, at least that's how the.
But
the
I would argue that like a small town would call a Bigfoot a human if they got that. Like you're like, yeah, he is.
No, I think not one bit would a small town of people call Bigfoot a human. He's naked. I guess the Grinch is naked. Okay, scratch that one off.
Yeah, he's naked. He walks
feet.
Onto it. Yeah.
He's got big feet.
Monster
right?
hog.
He's really hairy. The Grinch is also hairy. Scratch that one off. Let's see, what else? What are the differences between
lives away from society on his own?
He lives away from society.
Like I'm telling you, Bigfoot and the Grinch are the same people. And they're cryptids.
I do think
there is actually How the Grinch Stole Christmas has a shot of Jim Carrey doing the Bigfoot thing. So, did you guys notice that in one of the shots?
The other piece really I want to call out is you have the scene with the teenagers like making their way up the mountain. Like it's like supposedly the Grinch is like he is essentially like a creature of legend. Like there's this weird dude on the mountain that like people aren't sure if he's real.
I think this movie poses him more as like a hermit. Than like
I would argue that Bigfoot's a hermit too.
I disagree with that.
You don't think a small town who's obsessed with Bigfoot? I literally yesterday was driving behind someone who had like 1,000 Bigfoot stickers, and it literally said, but like, here's the difference,
Jake. The difference is that there are not stories and like. There is not history of Bigfoot being an intelligent creature.
Bullshit.
Bigfoot is classified as like a weird animal, not a human.
So,
Bigfoot human? Fortnite did it. Fortnite called Bigfoot a human.
I do not care if Fortnite calls Bigfoot a human.
Bigfoot is part human. DNA study claims.
We're really falling down the rabbit hole here, guys. We're not a cryptid podcast.
The Bigfoot hole.
We'll have to call up some cryptid experts to get their opinion.
Shout out Across the Veil. Shout out Across the Veil. They do cryptids.
Wow. How incredible would it be if we were ready to do that collab with them and looped them into this call right now to make the decision of whether or not the Grinch is a cryptid?
Well, when we if ever,
we should do a cryptid bracket and invite them. Absolutely,
we can have them on to settle the score.
The Bye Bye Man counts as a cryptid, right?
I hope so, because that movie's fucking awful, and I want to make people watch it.
Yeah, Joey King and Wishapod counts as a cryptid, right?
We're getting away from the point here.
How do you guys think the Grinch would deal with being an undercover cop?
Poorly.
I think undoubtedly he would not be a great cop. I think he would.
I think Grinch is ACAB, dude. I think Grinch is 100%. He's anti-capitalist. You think he cares about cops? No.
Well, privatized.
No, because he doesn't care about property. He doesn't care about property, so he would be a terrible cop.
Anyway, we have gotten
the more we talk about the Grinch, the more I like the Grinch.
We've gotten so far away from the point here. To get ourselves.
What's the point?
To compare this to Infernal Affairs. I think the point was that I'm ready to vote. I always do this to myself. It's like the Arnuki Beast all over again. You ask why the Grinch is so buff, and all of a sudden everyone's like, wait.
I'm so sorry, Matthew.
Oh my god.
Inexorably, there's no way to recover the conversation.
Just thinking about how buff the Grinch is makes me so happy.
It's just such a weird plot point that they make literally integral to the plot. But to actually bring something up that I think is a pretty interesting comparison between these two films is I think both of these, the idea of collective identity or collectively defined identity becomes really, really important because you have both the undercover cop and the undercover triad member grapple with how society defines them as people to sort of explore, are they good or are they bad? And I think in a much the same way, the Grinch's identity is defined by society rather than intrinsically defined. Like the Who's treat him. They treat him in a prescriptive way that sort of causes him to act negatively towards them. You know, like they have this whole bit of him as a child. The real reason he runs away is because society has defined him as other and kind of pushed him to the outskirt, self-imposed outskirts of society, which I think is like a really interesting comparison, that the Grinch embraces collectively defined identity the same way a Hong Kong cop movie does, is just pretty cool.
I think what is kind of weird to me about the Grinch, now that I'm like thinking about it, like in terms of embracing everyone dislikes him, so he's just going to be the nasty guy that they all think he is. Mm-hmm. What at the end actually makes him turn? Like, why does he choose to save Christmas? Because if the reason he is so bad is because all these people are mean to him, and then he takes away all the Christmas stuff, and then they still are having a good Christmas, and he's like, well, I guess I'll have a good Christmas too then. Maybe I love Christmas now. Like, where is that thread? Like, how does that actually make sense at all? You know, like I feel like he has a heart attack, and then maybe it's not a heart attack. Maybe he has a stroke, and then his brain is like real messed up at the end. Like, because that line to me does not make sense. You know,
I think the line they try to draw is Cindy Lou Who still endeavors to treat him like to treat him like he's part of the in group, so to speak, to not other him, to not prescribe that he is bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that is meant to be like where that through line goes. And the end is sort of his realization that he can define his own identity rather than let society define it for him. So it switches from collectively defined to individually defined.
Right. Can I? This honestly is bringing up a deep-seated thing for me. Unless, Matthew, if you have more to say, go for it.
Go ahead, Jake.
But like, this is me being vulnerable. I always was weirded out by the Grinch. Not like the Grinch itself. I love Jim Carrey, whatever. Just the movie. Because it always with these Christmas movies is like, and especially with this one, is like, you're an outsider. You need to celebrate Christmas. And like, as a Jew who didn't celebrate Christmas growing up, I was like, why does he need to celebrate Christmas or care about Christmas to be welcome in this community?
Yeah.
And I felt like that's like the whole thing. Like, you know, my reading of it as a kid was just like, maybe the Grinch is Jewish and they bully him into not being Jewish anymore and he had to be shunned, you know?
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, like, and that's like a genuine reading that I had as a kid. Like, and it sucks. And like, you talk about how like, oh, he randomly changed or whatever. It's just like, maybe they converted this man.
So call back to Grinch 2018. Because that one is like an overtly Christian reading of Christmas.
Yeah.
They literally convert him to Christianity in that version. That's a really good point though, Jake. I never personally interpreted it that way, but I definitely think that reading is there. That like they're trying to impose Christmas onto someone who doesn't want to celebrate it. But then also the movie kind of reads it as the Grinch has always wished he could celebrate Christmas, but you know, no one ever wanted to include him.
So did I as a kid. Here's the thing. So did I as a kid. Even
because
you know what I mean?
Like this.
Because of media like this, because of whatever, like, of course I want to. Everyone else was talking about Christmas getting inside. They call it Christmas break in school. They don't call it Hanukkah break. They don't like, you know, and like they sometimes call it holiday break or winter break, but they don't. Like, it was always Christmas break, and it always still is. And like, sure, and this is just one reading of like Judaism. You could also like not celebrate. You could also like celebrate Kwanzaa or anything else. But it's just so interesting to me, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to know if the Grinch is circumcised. I'm sorry, this was a long-winded thing.
Oh my God.
Do you guys think the Grinch...
Gotta ask Jim Carrey.
Do you guys think the Grinch has trouble on the toilet because his butt is so hairy?
Oh, gets like matted in
I don't
there.
Think he goes to the toilet the way you think he goes to the toilet.
How does he do it?
It's not my story to tell.
I guess he does eat so much glass that if he conventionally went to the bathroom, that shit would.
Yeah.
Oof.
Whew. Yeah, that would not be good. Not feel
Which
nice.
also, I feel like lends to my point where, like, that man's not a Who.
I think he is.
Anyway.
You see other Who's eating glass?
We're not touching that.
Can other
anymore.
Who's eat glass?
How do you guys think the Grinch would have gotten away if he was on the roof with the secret triad agent?
Honestly, I think the Grinch would have been shot in the head. Much the same ending.
Oh my god.
That's what the Who's wanted to do, the Grinch.
That's what the mayor wanted. The mayor wanted to cover up like that.
The mayor also wanted to use public funds to buy gifts for his wife to be. Like, the dude's a literal fucking criminal. he should, like, yeah, not a good dude. Something from Infernal Affairs that I think is a very fun fact. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Chinese film industry, films have to comply with Chinese regulation to be sold in mainland China, aired in mainland China. So movies will frequently make different versions for the Chinese market. And Infernal Affairs actually is one of those movies because it violates Chinese film regulation by like showing the undercover triad member benefiting from his crimes and getting away with it. So the mainland Chinese market of this movie has an alternative ending where he actually comes down from the elevator and is immediately caught. And they have evidence of his undercover activities, which I think is really interesting and massively changes the message of the film.
I wonder how that plays into, because there are two more of them, right? There's Infernal Affairs 2 and 3. So, like, how does that affect them making more movies?
Infernal Affairs 2 is a prequel. I've not seen the third, so I can't comment on that one. So
Vin Diesel shows up.
The family
cracks
open a Corona.
You know, I think that ending obviously is hugely at odds with, like, Infernal Affairs. Maybe not quite as heavy-handedly as having a rat in your final scene, like The Departed. Ends with a quote on screen talking about the continuous hell. The quote from Buddhism. As you know, it's essentially implied that he's going to have to live the rest of his life knowing what he's done and grappling with if he's ever going to be caught. So I wonder if the quote is still in there in the alternative ending. Mm-hmm. Maybe the that continuous hell is the Chinese prison system. Choo-choo-choo.
Damn.
Damn. How are you guys feeling? How are we? Where are we at?
I wager
right now?
You guys are ready to vote.
I'm ready.
I feel like you guys are ready to go here.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I just get a vibe check.
I want to talk more about Bigfoot.
Then that is that strictly forbidden.
Hey Jake. Is that a vote?
Yeah. I'm just being a little nasty.
Ooh, nasty.
Okay, but here's the thing. So we talked about how the Grinch is like a dirty little person, and if anything, the theme of this episode is being a dirty little listener.
Much like a dirty rat, a dirty cop.
Oh, wait, actually? Keep going. Keep swaying me.
I'm just saying, if it's dirtiness, grimy little boys, how do you get more grimy than a secret triad member undercover in the police force? That's pretty dirty.
See, I would argue, information. Though, like, he's dirty. Okay, you call him a dirty cop.
I'm being swayed right now.
You call him a dirty cop, but that man has to look incredibly clean. That's not a nasty man. That's a dirty cop. There's a difference. Because that's a clean man. He has to look clean to play the part.
Mm-hmm. Well, whereas the undercover cop in the triad, Tony Leung's character, is constantly sweaty, and sweat makes you stinky and dirty.
But is he stinkier or dirtier than the Grinch?
Probably not. The Grinch eating bottles, living in trash.
Okay. Guys, this is good. This is good stuff. All good stuff.
Yeah, this is really good content where we're just talking about dirty boys.
Are we ready to vote?
Here's the thing. In no world, if I have a choice between voting for a cop and voting against a cop, am I going to vote for the cop? So Grinch wins this one for me.
You're not voting for the cop. The cop is the bad guy, my guy.
It's cop propaganda. Hate it.
Cop, yeah, the Hong Kong movie from the early 2000s is Copaganda. Okay. Disservice to a Hong Kong classic. With that, just to make a point, I'm gonna vote for Infernal Affairs.
I think it's gonna move on. I'll be honest.
Infernal Affairs is a good movie, but that Grinch is so nasty. Love talking about him, love hearing about him. So I'm voting for How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
He is so strong. He could rip doors off a hinge.
Oh my God. I want to see this Grinch fight Benedict Cumberbatch.
And it will in the finale.
Oh,
we'll tantalize you, audience, with that, because How the Grinch Stole Christmas moves on. It will face Star Trek Into Darkness in our remake finale.
Who would have thought? Who would have put money on this?
So Incredible. We can actually talk about them as remakes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun. But we also, in that episode, are going to have honorable mentions. We'll be sending the asks out on social media. So what did we miss? What did we not include in the bracket that you would have? We'll talk about those. It'll be lots of fun.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, guys. Share this one with someone who you think likes to get nasty.
No, I'm going to get so many shares. I don't want to listen to the podcast. I'm kidding. I love listening. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding, guys. I love it.
Jake saying he doesn't want to listen is not permission for you to not listen. Okay, audience?
Yeah, you don't have permission to not listen.
You have to listen. So that'll be a lot of fun. Follow us on social media at Tough Cut Pod. We're pretty sick on social media. We haven't made any whammy tweets or anything recently, but maybe we got some things in the cooker. I don't know, man.
Yeah, we got some things. Just say we do. We have them.
Yeah, we're ready. I've scheduled tweets for the rest of the year.
We're gonna post next. You are not gonna believe it.
It's gonna be something Willem Dafoe related.
Oh no!
Oh God, he's gonna post his hog.
You're gonna post Willem Dafoe's nasty hog. Willem Dafoe's big nasty hog on our social media.
I don't know. The audience should follow and find out.
We've been in the market.
What does this turn to?
We've been in the market for a new Twitter banner.
Maybe we'll do it.
Little boy.
All right,
dare us.
Bye, guys. I hope you don't see Willem Dafoe's nasty hog this week, but if Matt's on our social media, you just might. Have a good time. Bye, guys.
I'm gonna change the passwords right now.